Hello and welcome to Yoga with Tins. So today we're going to have a look at the Pigeon Pose. We're going to have a look at how you do it, how you can adapt it to make it a little bit easier, and we're going to talk about going into the full pose, but I'm not able to do the full pose, so I'll just talk you through it. So, starting on your hands and your knees. So there are two ways that you can come into the Pigeon Pose. A lot of the time you'll start off in downward dog and you'll bring your leg forward. So your knee wants to be behind your wrist, your right knee wants to be behind your right wrist, your right foot behind your left wrist. You want to try and get the front of the leg as parallel as possible. However, if you're not very flexible, you might find it easier to bring the foot back slightly and have the shin at a slight angle, and then you just want to walk the other leg back. So bring your hip as close to the floor as you can. So ideally your hips want to be as close to the floor as possible. And then you just want to push up through your fingers and look forward. So you're really reaching through your chest, hence why this is called the pigeon. Your nice proud chest. And this is the basic pose that we tend to do. Now if you're a yin yoga person, you'll also have heard of the swan. So it's the same pose, but it's usually used as a sleeping version, so you can have sleeping pigeon, sleeping swan, and you just walk your arms forwards and you rest your head on the floor. This version is very relaxed and quiet, and so you can hold this version for quite a while, several minutes. The upright version you might find that you don't actually want to hold for too long, maybe up to a minute. You get a nice stretch through this outer hip, but do be careful that you're not feeling pressure in your knee. You shouldn't be feeling anything in the knee. And then to come out of this, you just bring your hands back under your shoulders and inhale back up into that pigeon. And then from this there are several other pigeon variations you can do. So if you bend your back leg, you can then take hold of the leg with the same hand and raise the other arm in front. So really it's lifting you up, getting a bit more of a back bend, and also getting that stretch through the left quad. And you can also use the opposite hand and come into a twist. So this has the back bend, but it's a twisted back bend. And then if you are very flexible, you can bring your arms overhead to get hold of your foot, which increases the back bend even more. So you're bringing your arms up overhead and catching hold of the foot. As I said, I'm not flexible enough to do that. I'm unable to get into that full pose, but that is the next level of the variation. You can grab hold of the foot with the inner elbow and then hold the arm, the wrist with the other hand if you can't get hold of it with both hands. So then if you're going through downward dog, you just tuck the back toes, press into the hands and inhale your hips back up. And you might want to stretch the leg up. You might just want to stand in downward dog and then come into it on the other side. If you want to come into it from kneeling, it is just standard kneeling pose. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And you just bring the leg forward the same as you do in downward dog, and then walk the opposite leg back to bring the hips as close to the floor as you can. Again, reaching through that chest once you've got your legs in position. You're really reaching with this back leg, puffing that chest out, opening the chest. This one's a gentle back bend here, really opening the airways, helping you to fill the lungs a bit more. And then again, coming down into the sleeping swan, sleeping pigeon.
You can either rest your head on your hands, or you can have your hands in front and rest your head on the floor. Or if you want to be a little higher, you can use a block. Also, if you're finding that the gap between your hip and the floor is too much and it's uncomfortable, you can put a block or a folded blanket underneath the hip, just to help you out a little bit. So again, you can stay in this pose for several minutes, and the longer you're in it, the more you'll relax into it, the lower your hips will come to the floor, and the less uncomfortable it becomes. And that is the idea with yin yoga, it's allowing the body to work the body. Again, to come out of it, bringing the hands underneath the shoulders and inhaling up.
And again, you've got the option, bending the leg, taking hold of the foot with that same hand, and then bringing the other arm in front. So this is a little bit of a balance as well. If your hips aren't, if your pelvis isn't quite on the floor, you've got to try and make sure you keep your hips nice and square. And again, you can do the twist. So you can take hold of the foot with the other arm and have a twisting back bend. If you feel any pinching in your back doing this, release it, let go. Don't keep holding it. And again, if you are flexible, you can take the hands overhead and catch the foot. And then dropping the leg. And to come back into the tabletop, you just tuck your toes, bring the knee forward, and then bring the leg back. And you're back in tabletop position. So I hope you enjoyed the pigeon pose introduction there, and I hope you can find a level at which it suits for you to use it. Namaste.